Hello, everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. I hope you're all doing very, very well. Welcome back to another episode of the Day After Show. And today we're talking about Arsenal, Chelsea versus Arsenal. It is the day after the draw. Not a boring draw, to be fair, although we were chanting boring Arsenal throughout the stadium. And it looked like they would have been happy with the draw, but I mean, they can't be because we had 10 men. And I guess the debate that we're going to have today is whether we should be happy with a draw. Because I spoke with some people that were pretty content, other people not so much. So let us know in the comments how you feel as well. And we're obviously going to be going through some questions today on top. So yeah, pop some questions in as we go and we'll try and work our way through. But as always, we're going to try and keep it as a natural conversation. So we don't want to start too much. Listen, I'm joined by Father. How are you doing, Father?
Yeah, all good, man. The day after the game.
Just had a shower.
I just had a shower. Yeah, not much happened today because I've had a lot of dissect 24 hours, and hopefully we'll dissect some things today, but I'm still in my head. I'm still gutted what happened yesterday, but we're definitely getting it into it.
Yeah, no, we're definitely going to talk about it and see what happens. Thomas, you were there yesterday, but I didn't see you either.
Yeah, no, it's becoming a common theme where I go with my friend in the hospitality section in East, and he often says, "Let's go to the Millennium Hotel, get a few pints afterwards." I mean, I don't drink, but he obviously wants to, and I'm like, okay, fine. But then I'm missing out on seeing Alex, and then he's always got places to go, and it's like, and why are you waiting this long? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, this game was not going to grant all the chanting and cheering like we saw after Wolves and after Barca. It was. Those were two great games. We all in all, I think we had a great week of football, beating Barcelona, beating Burnley away, which is a tricky fixture, and obviously drawing with Arsenal. I predicted a 1-1 draw before the game, but I still think that with 11 men, I do think we would have won that. I think it would have been a 1-0, 2-0 win if we kept Caicedo on the pitch. So I think it was a great week of football for us, and I think we need to just continue to keep this run up, because we've seen that, when it's the big teams, we show up and we have the hunger and we want to fight to win these sort of games. But it's the games like Leeds away, Bournemouth away, where we're going to have to get 3 points if we really want to stay or cement our spot in the top 4 or stay top 2. So, it was a good week all in all. And, obviously we're going to be slightly disappointed with the draw, but, good satisfaction overall.
No, I mean, I think you said that well, Thomas. And listen, we've got plenty to talk about, mates. Everything we missed out on yesterday, we'll crack on with it tonight. Warren, good to see you, mate. It's actually the second time we've met. We've only met once before, and that was at Burnley. But I know you do you did the Blue Day podcast, and you're involved in that. And we had a chat, and I said, do you want to pop on the podcast tonight? And you said, why not?
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I was probably a little bit more enthusiastic in that. I was really pleased for the invite. Thank you very much. I've been looking forward to it I've been looking forward to it all day since we sort of had that discussion and everything. And met just the once. I am a long time listener of Chelsea Fan TV, as you said yourself there. I was a member of the Blue Day podcast. I was a co-host originally back in the day. Had the great fortune of the great pleasure of working alongside Keith, who still does the podcast, and got to interview like legends like Ron Chopper Harris and Mr. Chris Izit, or Izit, depending on how you want to pronounce it, the chairman of the Chelsea Pitch Owners Association organisation. I beg your pardon. I should get that right. But thank you very much for having the show. I'm really excited, and it's a good time to come on as well. I feel like there's a really positive feeling around the club. I know that there's some mixed emotions about the performance and decisions and sort of the outcome of the game yesterday, but it's a good time to come on the show. I feel like I said, there's a real positive atmosphere around the club at the minute, and it's a really good time. Thanks for having me on. I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you.
Oh, great to have you on. And look, we've got a latecomer. Scott, he's here. How are you doing, Scott?
Hey. I'm good, bro. How are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. You weren't in the shower. Now, Father was in the shower. You were in the gym.
Yep.
Fair enough, mate. I didn't see you at the bridge yesterday, but obviously you were watching the game. I mean, you must have enjoyed what you saw.
It was amazing. I think you've with that game. I think you have to take it in terms of like two separate things. I think you take the result and the performance. I think the performance was excellent. We haven't seen that. Well, I say we haven't seen. We saw it against Barcelona, but then to do it against Arsenal, the best team in Europe currently. Like we made them look average. Like we dominated them in terms of every position on the pitch outside of probably one. And we were just a better team with 11 men, with 10 men. It didn't matter. We were just better. But on the other hand, a bit where I'm annoyed is the result, because I feel like we should have won. I feel like we could have won. So like I'm extremely happy with the performance, like extremely happy, and especially the performances for some players. But yeah, disappointed that we couldn't get the win, because I think we needed that win, and I wanted that win as well as Arsenal.
Oh, we all did. I mean, they talk a big game as well, so those are the ones you want to win more than anything. Are the ones where people are bigging themselves up, and you think, listen, keep talking. We're gonna show you on the pitch.
It doesn't help the Caicedo Rice debate as well. Him getting a red card. I mean, like I was with a couple of friends after, and they're all Arsenal fans, and you're just hearing Caicedo shin kicker this, shin kicker that, and I'm just like,
I'm gonna be real. That debate from both sides took a hit, because like Caicedo obviously got a red card after 30-something minutes, and Rice was just shit. Like he was just shit. Like he was terrible yesterday. And this whole, I just have to say, I've said it before, I'm gonna say it again. This whole he can't play in, or he doesn't play in the six because there's more elements to his game and all this. No, he can't play in the six because he's shit at ball progression. And you saw it yesterday. The moment Zubimendi went off, their midfield got worse.
I think ironically, talking about Declan Rice there, and like as you quite rightly pointed out, there was this big debate before the game, and everybody saying it was like the Caicedo Rice matchup, and whoever won that matchup would dominate midfield and therefore dominate the game, right? Ironically, it turned into the Declan Rice Reece James show, and Reece James absolutely run the show, and that's the irony of it. I'm not quite as harsh on Declan Rice as yourself. I think there are weaknesses to his game that are probably not exposed because Arsenal are so strong, right? I mean, let's have it right. They're the best team in England at the minute. They're playing the best consistently, and I think Declan Rice is a huge part of that. But I think yesterday, Reece James, his positioning, his intelligence, his just ability to read the game was a level above Declan Rice yesterday. And I think that it turned into Declan Rice against Reece James before and after Caicedo got sent off. I take your point on board. And I think that I do believe it got to Caicedo's head. I think it was very unprofessional of him, the tackle. It was a red card. I think that most people agree on that, right? Can we sort of have that right? It was a red card, you
can't get away with a violent conduct anyway, because
it was excessive.
I think all we want.
Just one at a time, guys. One at a time.
No, please, the floor is yours, gentlemen, please.
I think we need consistency, though, with these challenges, because we saw Bentancur did the very similar thing and he didn't get sent off. And then here Caicedo does a similar thing. I think it's a red, but then that means Bentancur should get sent off as well. So we just need consistency in these decisions. And obviously, like, back to the Caicedo-Rice thing, I think it's very hard to say that Rice is a better sort of progressor with the ball when he's playing in a number 8 position where you're meant to do that. That's your job. And people compare him, they're like, they don't really acknowledge Caicedo's passing ability as well. He's able to drive with the ball. He's able to progress the ball as well from a 6, which is even more impressive. And they say that Rice has got more of an all-round game when he's playing in a position which grants him to be able to do that. So I don't really get, for me, you can compare them as to how good they are in their position. But in terms of comparable, like being able to compare them, for me, you can't really compare 6 and an 8, and it's different. But yeah, like you said, Warren, I think Reece James was unbelievable, just winning every second ball, reading the game, dictating the game as well. And genuinely, I didn't think he was able to do that in midfield, because for me, I see him as a wing back. Not right now, obviously, but when he was best under Tuchel, it was when he was a wing back. So, but yeah, I was impressed with him, and that's the first time where I've been convinced by seeing him in midfield. Maybe Barca and PSG as well.
Well, the thing is with Rice and Caicedo, I think for me, the way that I looked at it, because I kind of bought into the whole, I believe that both players are very important for each team. I think it's not so much of a question about who's better in what position. It's about how important they are to the team. Yeah. And I think that yesterday was the first time that I saw Chelsea not need Caicedo because somebody else was brilliant, and that was Reece James. Yeah, you know, I know I've gone back to that point twice, but I just think that we almost didn't need him, Caicedo, who has been one of the top performers in England, right? So, yeah.
Do you have anything to add on that, Father or Scott?
I would say this. I think us as a Chelsea fans, we need to appreciate how good Caicedo is, because I find it in the small section of our fan base did not appreciate Caicedo enough as other Chelsea fans would, because I think most Chelsea fans seen him as a shin kicker. He's a rash, a bit aggressive. Like, you love a bit aggressive from Caicedo yesterday. Don't get me wrong, but from what he's done so far this season, I cannot take away what he's been achieved this season. And for me, that's why I said yesterday that he's been, again, the player of the season so far, even though without Cole Palmer. And if you think about it as well, if you look at the depth as well that we had, you got Caicedo, you got Santos, you got Lavia. I mean, there's options there. At the end of the day, I love what Caicedo's done this season, but even though yesterday it was only like one moment that he was rash, but that's why he's going to be in the world class candidate anytime soon. So you're gonna have days like that. You're gonna have days where you're gonna get yourself booked and you're gonna get yourself sent off, and that's part of the process really on to be a world class player. So in the next few years' time, if he can keep this performance week in, week out, we'll have a conversation soon, in the future.
Scott?
Yeah, like I said, I just think that the debate as a whole ended up just being kind of moot yesterday. And yeah, Reece James was excellent. Like, he is the best right back in this league. He might even be one of the best footballers in this league, just full stop. Yeah, there's almost nothing he can't do, and the only things he can't do are because his body lets him down, which isn't his fault. Like,
which is becoming less of a problem now, right? I think that the way that Maresca and the medical team, I think that it's something that's gone almost under the radar. We've almost got used to having Reece James back now. Like, big kudos to like the staff behind the scenes. They've done a great job of him.
100%. I think as well. Just going on when Caicedo got the red card. Obviously James was fine before that. I'm not saying he was poor in it, but I really noticed him when Caicedo got sent off. For me, that's when I thought, oh, I see you. You know, you're going in for the challenges. You're making things happen. You're not shying away from getting past the man or putting an extra challenge in. The ball's in the air. There was moments, even when Delap came on. I mean, we're going to get onto that. And I thought, oh, come on, mate. You can challenge a little bit more for that. Every single 50-50. He was stuck in, he was involved. And by the way, I don't think it's a bad thing for players to sometimes go, right, maybe it's not the right time for me to go in because I might get injured, especially a James, a player like that. Like, I think there's probably an element of, he just knows how his body is. And if he tries a certain thing, he's risking that something can happen. But there also comes a point, and the last time we had this conversation properly, I think, was in Wrocław in Poland, and we were going, he's got to start, hasn't he? He's got to start. It's a European Cup final. How could Maresca not start him? And Maresca didn't start him, and we were absolutely poor. And then second half, he came on, the game changed, we were much more stable, much more solid, and we ended up winning that game. But I think one thing that Maresca did, which surprised me, was just the fact that we started James and Fofana and Estevao, and we didn't rest any of those. But then we were willing to, take Estevao off after a while. I think he'd probably get rested against Leeds as well. But yeah, really, really impressed with.
I disagree because I'm more surprised of him starting Reece James and Gusto.
Oh, and Gusto as well. But you see, Gusto's got the legs to deal with it. If I'm honest, I think
he got it the right. He got it the right way round this time, didn't he? Because there's a couple of times he's tried to play Gusto in there and then James at right back. And I know they naturally swap. So if Gusto was to go ahead, James falls back, and they kind of fill each other's roles. But he actually tried Gusto in midfield, and that did not work. That's where Reece James shows his ability as a footballer. I think it was Scott saying earlier that he's not just like probably the best right back in the league, he's one of the best footballers in the league as well. With his feet and his head, he is unbelievable.
100%. I mean, just a quick shout out to everyone that's watching as well. We've got almost 200 people on all platforms as well. If you haven't subscribed, please do. It makes a big difference. Like the video as well if you haven't already. Let's get straight up to 50 likes straight away. Big up to Pierre. Good to see you. Big up to JK as well. Philip, always a pleasure. Natalie as well. Woodshedder. Cheers to Warren. Love the Blue Day podcast. There you go. Hamal says Chelsea deserved to win. Should have taken their chances before the Caicedo red. Estevao should have scored. We were poor. Reece is by far the best right back in the Premier League, according to Logan. Clemay says it was clear that Arteta's plan was simply to contain the whole match for a draw, even when and after we were down to 10 men, to wait until the last 30 minutes that Arteta decided to try and win. Nicole says James had an operation and that helped him to stay fit. Why does no one remember? I mean, well, we've spoken about surgery with a number of players. He did it, and in fairness, it's probably done well. We can talk about that more in a second. And then Clay also says, I think Maresca could have spoken to Cucurella and Caicedo to take it a little bit easier. We could see that they were very fired up. Nothing wrong with that. And big up to Brovlon as well. Okay, let's go with Reece James then, guys, because obviously he replaced Caicedo in terms of that role in the middle, the destroyer, but still very able to get involved in other parts of the game as well. I mean, Thomas, what do you take from the James performance? Does that almost make you think to yourself, it's not even a case of being open to seeing him in the midfield. It's almost like you want to see him because of how good he was in that position.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that, like, when you see that intensity that he brings and that, like, willingness to win the second balls, I think that's where I'm more convinced about it. And I think that's why Maresca in the big games goes for James in midfield, just because he gives that extra sort of counter pressing, he gives that extra physicality. And I think in those bigger games, we would see Lavia, I think, if he was fit, because I think he's great in terms of ball retention, breaking the lines. And I think, obviously, he's maybe a bit less physical than James. But I think the reason he goes for James is that as soon as we lose the ball, we've been so good recently when we've had James in midfield at just counter-pressing, whenever they get the ball. It's always a thing of, also when we have Gusto at right back as well, you've got Gusto, James, Caicedo and Cucurella, you could argue, just all on Arsenal's players or whoever we're playing. Just their counter-pressing just been sensational. I think obviously he offers you that ability on the ball as well. We saw yesterday when he was picking the ball up in the middle of the park, some of his diagonal balls were sensational as well. Just his passing, his creativity, I think, offers us a lot in the middle of the park. Maybe a bit less so than a Lavia, but I think I was never super convinced with Reece James in midfield, because I don't think he looks fully adept in that position, or when he's receiving the ball on the half turn, or when he's receiving the ball in that number 6 position. But I think that now, recently, in the bigger games, I think it suits the way we want to play. I think it suits our intensity, and I think the last 4 weeks, I think against Spurs, Wolves, Barca and Arsenal, our pressing's just been sensational. I've been really impressed with every time we lose the ball, we've been on the opponent straight away. And I think James really helps to that. Fofana really helps to that. So I think in those bigger games, I'm fine now with James, seeing him in midfield. But I think for your lesser games, you have to have someone like a Lavia or a Santos in there just to change it up a bit. But yeah, in terms of physicality and just being so good on the ball and adept on the ball, I think James, he's starting to prove me wrong in terms of him being in that number 6 position.
I think he's proven a lot of people wrong. I never liked the old inverting stuff last season. I was not into it at all. But do you know what? For good reason. I don't even think he was that great when he inverted the majority last season. It seems like something's clicked. And maybe that is just a clear sort of misunderstanding from fans like myself, thinking, I'm seeing it on the pitch in certain games not working, but we're not seeing what goes on in training. We're not, hearing the conversations that the two players are having And also, again, it comes down to his physical condition. If James can't overlap, then, if you can get him to invert well, then brilliant. I mean, if he inverts that well, then just stick him in midfield in the first place. He did play as a midfielder for Wigan in the Championships.
Wigan,
He has done it before, but it's been a while. So
did he not win player of the? Did he not win player of the year at Wigan for that?
Yes, he did. And I think he scored quite a few goals for them in the midfield as well. He's always had a goal in him.
Yeah, he's brilliant at set plays as well. I mean, it's interesting you're talking about the inverted right back and kind of this modern evolutionary sort of like Pep effect type football. Obviously, I grew up in an era. So my first Chelsea game was 1989. I grew up in an era where football was very different. Like when Ruud Gullit, me and you, Alex, discussed after the Burnley game, talking about sexy football, right? Obviously, Ruud Gullit coined that term when he came in and become player manager. So it's very difficult for me to not watch a right back overlapping the winger and getting to the touchline and whipping balls in for a Drogba or a Hasselbank. That's kind of what I grew up with. So it's very difficult for me to kind of, you're saying about it's difficult to accept him coming into midfield at first. It's almost an alien concept to me, but 100%. like you pointed out earlier, his technical ability is so high that he can just play anywhere. Champions League final against Man City, he played right side of three centre-backs. People forget that. People forget at the age of 21 years old with probably 50 Chelsea appearances, maybe less. And to my knowledge, his first ever starting a game at right centre-back of a three with two wing-backs to perform to the levels that he did. And for us to have kept the clean sheet and him be a massive part of it at 21 years old, I dread to think how good he would have been without the injuries, because it's clearly held him back physically for a long time.
He'd have been in all-time conversations. He'd have been in conversations of being an all-timer without the injuries. That is no doubt on my mind. The fact,
100% already.
And you know why I know that is because you look at the game he had yesterday. He is so heading, he played against in the game yesterday, we played against the second best right back in the league, and he looked mid.
Yeah.
He looked mid. And that's not me saying Timber's a bad player. He's not. He has been the second best right back in the league this season. But he looked mid in comparison to Reece James. That is the level that Reece James is currently playing at. And he's playing at a level which you could argue is not his best level. But we can't potentially ever see his best level again, because part of it is to do with the injuries and his body can't keep up.
There will always be that question. I think you're right. There'll always be that question for me.
So without those injuries, and I can't lie, Lampard, Tuchel to an extent, Poch, they all have blood on their hands over this for rushing him back unnecessarily and making it worse. We would be talking about an all-timer at his age already.
Mm-hmm. Well, he would have made an extra 150 appearances already, right?
Oh, 100%.
But it's also the fact that, for me, I think and players have said it before, Reece James is one of the best finishers at Chelsea, even crossing as well. He's probably our best crosser, maybe bar Neto. And that's why it's not I'm not disappointed, but it's just the fact that I remember, when we beat Arsenal, I think it was 2-0 away under Tuchel, and Reece James scored it was a banger, top bins. I think it was him, Mount played it into him, and he was playing at wing back, and then Newcastle away, he scored 2 volleys. I want him to be getting into attacking positions. And I'm just wondering, because Gusto, obviously Maresca loves to see Gusto in that overlapping fullback role. And I'm happy that now he's playing Gusto in that overlapping fullback role in those bigger games, because he just has so much energy. He can bomb up and down the touchline. He's good at crossing as well. But I wonder if there's ever going to be a stage where we see Reece James adopting that wing back or overlapping fullback role ever again, because he's just so good on the ball. His crossing's a joke, his finishing's a joke. Every time he shoots from outside the box, it's always on target. And that's why I'm not disappointed that he's playing in midfield, but I'm just saying it's you're not unlocking your full potential. Obviously, we know he's had all these injuries, but it's almost I wish we could see him in more attacking positions, because personally, I think he's one of our best ball strikers, finishers and crossers. So it's just whether we're ever going to see him in that position ever again, which is, it's. I watched him yesterday and I'm you're playing phenomenally, but I just really hope that one day we get to see him in that overlapping fullback or a wing back role.
Now we will, but not for Chelsea. It'll be for England.
I was going to say that the only issue that I think that managers would look at, trying to sort of comprehend it from like a different perspective. If you take him out of the inverted right back role, which obviously limits his ability to overlap, or if you play him in midfield, if you take him out of one of those two roles and have him as like a bombing forward wing back attacking, and I totally take your point as to why you'd want him doing that, who are you going to replace him with?
Yeah.
That's the question that Maresca would ask. I think that's what a coach would ask. Who's going to do the job that Reece James is doing?
No one will do it to his standard, but you'll get like a Santos you'll get a Santos or an Asugo who will be able to do that, but not as well as him. Technically on the ball, they won't be as good as Reece James.
No, they'll be inferior.
It's just like I want to see Reece James picking up the positions that Gusto does when he's playing in that overlapping fullback role, which we don't. We often see him in like much deeper in the part of the pitch. We could say that helped him a lot for his recovery, but it's more the fact that I think we could be so much better as a team if we saw him in that role.
You know what's interesting as well, just moving on to like the defense as a whole and Gusto, is the way that James was able to do one of the few things that I thought he could never compete with Gusto, especially at this stage of his career, which is just being a runner. And I felt like, Gusto's performance against Liverpool when he was in the midfield, I spoke about it with you, Scott. It was really impressive. He had a simple job, but he did it really effectively. And I would have never put Reece James as someone to sort of dominate the midfield in those physical battles. Not because he's not capable of doing it, because of course he is, but it's just like, let's not push the boundaries here too much. Let's not take the risk. We can get someone like Gusto to do the overlapping and the just running around.
The donkey one.
Yeah. But I think even then James stepped up to the plate. In terms of the whole defense, I was impressed. I thought the yellow card on Cucurella was pretty harsh, but then people are having a conversation about whether he should have been sent off. I thought Fofana was excellent. I thought Chalobah obviously getting his goal as well.
Is he not our most? Sorry to interject there. Is Chalobah? I'd love your guys' opinion on this because I know that you obviously frequent the games probably quite a bit more than I do. I live in the northeast now, so I don't get a chance to go to the games as much. But the games that I do attend as regularly as I can, Chalobah's our most underrated player. He leads everything. He's the vote. He's the communicator, along with Fernandes as well. Fernandes is terrific leader, but Chalobah's just been our best player. And again, we're talking about our most underrated player. I beg your pardon. And I think if you talk about our best player and our most underrated player, we're looking at two academy players. And I think that makes a huge difference to the connection with the fans, the connection to the team, the connection to the history of the club. I think it's massive. I'd love your guys' opinions on.
I just think I agree with you there, but also it's the fact that for me, I think he's been massively underappreciated by some of our fan base because I feel like this season it's been up and down season for Chalobah, isn't it? But I think it's all about that consistency that he's been going. And ever since we lost to Sunderland, would say, I think he's been one of at least one of the best centre backs that we had in terms of performances. Fofana for me was I was massively surprised even since the Barcelona game as well. I thought the last two games been good, but I'm still slightly worried about our depth just because of the, let's say if you have to think the worst case, isn't it? Let's say one player if Fofana gets another injury again, then who's going to be covering for that depth? So as it stands, like I'm happy what I've seen so far in this period, but I think from Leeds game onward, it's going to be a massive test for all players.
Scott, I feel like you wanted to say something about Chalobah.
I don't know if I'd consider him underrated because, I feel like for most of the fan base, he's rated correctly. It's just there is a small portion of the fan base that doesn't rate him because I look at Chalobah and I see a solid centre back, who probably isn't a starter for a title-winning team, can be a starter for a top 4 team, but as long as he's got the right partner next to him, can perform really well. We've seen it since Fofana's come back. But then I think you then see prior to Fofana coming back, he was pretty bad. You could probably make the case I'd say he was our second worst centre back up until Fofana came back. And so yes, I don't know if I consider him underrated, saying that I don't think there's many players in this team that are underrated by the majority of the fan base. I mean, there's always going to be your small pockets of fan either overrate a player or underrate a player massively. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily consider him underrated. That being said, like he has been excellent the last 2 games. Like I said, since Fofana's come back in, I think having someone who can be more of the leader and more of the physical presence has been good. Like he hasn't got to make up for Tosin's mistakes, or he hasn't got to try and lead and be the number 1 centre back next to Josh, for example. I think, like I said, since Fofana's come back, he just fits really well next to him, and we're seeing a very good partnership like build between them. And yeah, like he handled Lewandowski midweek brilliantly. Didn't really have much to do, I'll be honest, yesterday, but handled what he had to deal with brilliantly yesterday. So yeah, I think it's good to see, and I think there's now a clear gap between him and the other bozo that we've had to deal with for the whole season.
I think maybe Father probably corrected my articulation there. Maybe he's not been underrated, maybe he's been underappreciated. I do think that you're right. You're right. He made mistakes earlier on in the season, but like you said, he was in a very inconsistent, unstable team that had just had this massive injury to Colwell, and and Tosin's come in, and people talk about the way he plays forward. I'm more worried about what he does at the back rather than passing forward, but that's another story. But yeah, maybe underappreciated rather than underrated was better terminology.
But I do still think I kind of agree with Warren as well. Like I do think he's a bit underrated as well, just because of the fact that I remember he got when he got kicked out, when he wasn't allowed to go on the US tour, he came back. He went to Palace, then he came back and willingly said that I'm going to come back even though you've pissed me off and I've gone to Palace, and I'm willingly gone against what the club has asked me to do, and I've come back, and he put in like an 8 or 7 out of 10 performance throughout the I can't remember, it was the running, I think. He put in a 7 or 8 out of 10 shift every single week. And you can just tell that he bleeds blue. He wants to do the best for the club. Every time he wins a challenge, he'll like celebrate with the fans. And I think it's so valuable to have a player like that in the team. Even the season before that with Poch, we got I think it was top 6 or top 5 because of Chalobah. When in that latter stage or that running again, he was injured throughout the whole season, came back, did super well. Obviously, he's had some lapses of concentration, and obviously, like Scott said, when you've got a centre-back pairing which is never consistent, it's not easy for him. But every time you have a player who is maybe better than him, or sort of like you could say is a bit more aggressive, like a Fofana or a Colwell, his level just gets raised because you have that leader. And I think Chalobah, in terms of the squad, he can be, for me, a very good squad option for someone who's going to win the league. Like, let's say Liverpool last season, if Konate gets injured, for me, Chalobah can slot next to Van Dijk if he was playing for Liverpool.
He gets in now, right? Chalobah gets in ahead of Van Dijk and Konate right now. Let's be perfectly honest about that.
For sure. And that's one point I was going to say as well. I think people they're too quick to say that Chelsea's defence is terrible. I mean, people, the amount of times people just disregard our defence, obviously, because there's no continuity with our defence, people are going to be quick to say, yeah, he's terrible, he's this, he's that. Like, Chelsea's defence is awful. But I'm sorry, we've got maybe one less clean sheet than Arsenal. And we've got Fofana, who's been very, very good since he's come back. Chalobah with Fofana has been very good. Colwell, I'm sorry, he also just gets, like, every time people talk about him, they just say he's terrible as well. I do think our defence sometimes doesn't get talked about enough, obviously, because we've leaked goals in the past. But our defence needs to get talked about a bit more, because we got one of the best fullbacks, if you could argue the best fullback in the league, in Cucurella and Reece James. And then you've also got Fofana and Chalobah, who've been unbelievable for me in the last 4 games. So I think people need to put more respect on our defence.
I think
it's only Arsenal that have conceded less. Right? Sorry, it's only Arsenal that have conceded less. Villa and Palace the same on 11, and Arsenal have conceded a few less, maybe about 7 or 8.
We got second most clean sheets in the league.
Well, we've conceded more than Villa and Palace.
I thought we'd all conceded 11. Maybe I've got that wrong. Fair enough.
Yeah, no, we're level with City. Us and City have conceded 12, and they've both conceded 11. So we're joined.
In terms of clean sheets, we're up there.
Right.
Clean sheets, aren't we up there with clean sheets?
Yeah, I think clean sheets we're
up there, yeah. Sanchez had a blinder yesterday, and he got kicked in the face.
Yeah, no, I mean Sanchez has been really good. Just going back to Chalobah though, I think that he's basically shown that. I think you make a good point, Thomas. You play great players with Chalobah, and he will play great. You play players who aren't capable, and he falls to their level. He is a player who rises or falls to the level of the players that he has around him. When he played under Tuchel, I thought it was fantastic. He slotted in nicely. I remember he scored in the opening Premier League game after COVID when we played Palace. Like he was straight in there. And I always felt confident and comfortable with him. I mean, his attitude's never been a problem, really. I think that the main debate has been about his quality. I mean, his quality is definitely there. I wouldn't start Chalobah every single week, but I do think he's a better player than Tosin. And I still think that Tosin's a good enough player to be a squad player for Chelsea. So, I mean, that's saying to me that Chalobah's better than just your average squad player, but not necessarily that backbone that you'd have like a Saliba and Gabriel. You know, he's sort of in the middle of the two.
I'd play a Champong over Tosin, wouldn't you?
No, not yet. I think he needs a little bit more time. But I mean, different types of roles as well. I mean, Achimpong, I would put Achimpong in the same bracket as a Chalobah, as a Fofana, to be fair. Like, good defender. But I think Tosin, he's more of a Colwell in terms of
Fofana's ahead of
you get on the ball with Tosin, and also it's what you get in the dressing room with Tosin. So slightly different in that sense. But I mean, then the argument is, who do we have to get rid of? If we have to get rid of someone, who would it be? I think it probably will be Tosin if I had to make a decision. But I also think it could be Chalobah, by the way. I still think that could be a very realistic option. It's quite good that people don't value him very high in terms of what they're willing to pay, because we're not going to accept anything less than sort of 25 million.
Because of the pure profit thing, that also adds an element when you're talking about which defender would leave, because it would be pure profit because he's an academy product.
But he's the perfect squad player. Like, for me, he'd be the type of player that we'd look for. If we didn't have Chalobah, I bet he'd be the type of defender we'd look for as a squad option. And we have that in us, like, right now. Why would you sell him? Like, even when we tried to sell him, he's the only defender. Like, Alex, you were saying that point about he sort of drops to the level of other defenders. I mean, I agree with that to some extent, but even when our defense is not that good and he's in there alongside a Tosin, let's say, or an Achimpong, I still think he gives it his 100% every single game, and he literally wants to win us the football match. He wants us to keep the clean sheet. I think his passion is, you're not going to find many other players who have that passion or who have that willingness to want to play for the club and do that well. So I think he's such a valuable player to have in the squad that even, obviously, I'd prefer, like, if we had Colwell fit, let's say, for me, it would be Colwell and Fofana for sure. But I wouldn't mind having Colwell and Chalobah as a starting option. Not every single game, but in games where Fofana's not fit, I'd be totally happy with that, because we've shown that we can keep clean sheets with that combination.
Yeah. It's like having Santos in the midfield. I really like him, but I just can't justify him starting ahead of Caicedo or Enzo. So, I mean, that's a good place to be. A bit like when we had Ruben Loftus-Cheek.
Alex, you do say that you do prefer having, like, people who stay fit over quality. So
no. But if you had to pick for a squad for a whole season, you would pick the player who's available. 100%. Who are you going to call? You know, who's going to pick up the phone every week? That's the way I look at it. If you've got people that you know in your life and they don't answer the phone, and then you actually need them at some point, then you're fucked. You know, you want people that you can count on. And for me, Tosin, like, he's reliable in that sense. He is reliable, and I would say Tosin's also underrated. But in a different type of way. I think that Tosin is a key player to have, because it's hard to find a player of that level, of that experience, who offers what he offers, who's still happy to be a squad player. Because there comes a point when every player's like, I want to play every week. So then Tosin, actually, you see a bit of value there. Let's go to Fofana, guys. Like, what do we make of Fofana? Because obviously we're giving Chalobah all this praise, but Fofana is the player that we're talking about in terms of sort of uplifting Chalobah's level in the first place. I thought I see comments. He was winning every duel, challenging for 50-50s, aggressive in the challenge, but also intelligent. What did you think, Father? You were close to the action.
Yeah, I was impressed with him yesterday. And please remind me again when he's actually starting first game this season.
He started at Brentford, I think, away.
Oh, I think right after that game, he's been. Even though I'm gonna take out the losses that we had this season. Other than that, he's been honestly he's been good. He's been great this season, from in my opinion. And I could not have been privileged enough to watch him, even though yesterday I watched him very closely. Indeed, he kept Eze quiet yesterday. It was unreal to watch, and Martinelli as well on that right hand side. And I just wish that for me, my biggest regret with Fofana is I wish that we could have this type of Fofana from 3 years ago. I wish that he was more fit enough to start a game on a consistent basis. And unfortunately, now the injuries hamper his career massively. And hopefully that when we have Fofana this season, and hopefully this run of form that hopefully it will continue, and hopefully doesn't hamper him in the middle stage of the season. Yeah.
Name 5 things Tosin is good at, Alex. Okay. He's tall. He was a free transfer. Good in the dressing room. Good passer. Great uncle. There you go. There's my 5.
And good buddy to Cole Palmer as
well.
well.
I'd argue that 2 of those things are not things that he's good at. I wouldn't say that because he's tall, he's good at it, and I wouldn't say that being afraid. I suppose maybe he's good at being.
All right, he's good at pure profit. How about that?
He's good at pure profit. He's good at playing the ball. He's very good at playing the ball forward. He does play between the lines. I get that. There's a lot of.
He's tall, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's amazing in the air. To be fair,
no, he's actually pretty poor in the air, if I'm honest.
You could say he's a good mentor to Cole Palmer as well.
I'm not really sure what he's teaching Cole at this point, but
I've seen. I think it was
not all coaches play. That's the truth. It
was the Conference League final. I remember very well. I was listening to it on the TV. I think Palmer lost the ball and he was like jogging back, and Tosin was like, "Run, Cole, run!" Like that's maybe one example.
He's a good person to have in the dressing room.
Exactly.
I mean, let's recap from where we were just talking about.
We're talking about Fofana.
Yeah, so where were we on Fofana before I interjected with Tosin?
We were just saying how he's just super aggressive in the tackle, how he's won all his 50-50s aerially as well. He's not the tallest, and he's really good in the air. I generally haven't seen him lose one duel in the air since Spurs away. But yeah, he's been sensational, and I think if we can put him on the similar recovery program to James, so like not playing him every week, playing him just once a week, maybe in the bigger games. I think if we manage him well, I think when Cole becomes fit, Fofana and Cole will be a great partnership, and I think that just level of potential, and I just love how aggressive he is in the challenge. Like he's not, you could argue someone like a Tosin's more passive with his defending, with his 1v1 defending, he sort of lets the player come to him. Whereas Fofana, there's at times I see him at like right centre mid, like trying to nick the ball off like Eze's and players like that, Saka and all of that. So I've been really impressed with him. I hope he can continue this up, because I think he's been key to us getting these 4 clean sheets in a row, bar Arsenal. So I've been really impressed with him. And you could argue we might not need another defender if he shows that he can stay fit.
100%. Yeah, I agree. I mean, the question is then, if he gets injured, what's everyone's reaction? Because he's been so good when he's come back. I mean, my reaction would be, well, depending on how long he's out, if I'm being honest. I mean, if the answer is he's out to the end of the season, I say sell him. That's the God honest truth. If he's out for 3 months,
that'd be the same with Lavia as well, then, right? Really?
I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, there comes a point where you just have to go, really? You know, I mean, we still. And the thing is with Lavia, I will say this: is Lavia's wages aren't stupid; they're not extortionate, and Fofana's are, and that does come into play as well. I mean, if I was an owner, I'd certainly think about that.
It's a place in the squad that could be filled by an academy player on 10% of what Lavia is on.
That's the tricky thing, though. But I think we paid like 80 mil for him. When you've made such a big investment on a player like that, it's hard to just sell him straight away.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you don't want to sell him straight away. It's the same with like an Enzo Fernandez. When he's not performing well, you're not thinking sell him. Same with Fofana. Obviously, this is different because he's been injured a lot of times. But I just feel like with him, we made a massive investment on him, and it would just be, for me, it'd be cheap to sell him just because he's so good. And obviously, if he was injured until the end of the season, I think you're right, Alex. You probably would have to sell him, but it just seems like such a shame when you've made such a big investment on someone and then to just sack it off straight away.
It's true, mate. It's true.
I don't think you could afford to sell him when the level of centre back we've got after him is not to anywhere near his level, regardless of how fit he stays. Because I'm sorry, him and Colwell are a level above everyone else. Like, it's him, Colwell, a gap, and then everyone else. And you see that since he's come back.
Yeah. I mean, if you're happy with 10 good games, then, I mean, it's still 10 games where, you know, that can be 30 points potentially that we win. So, you know, that could be a very crucial period. I mean, there's definitely an argument for that. Speaking of someone who's going under the radar a little bit as well in terms of his performances, I think you mentioned it earlier, Warren, like Robert Sanchez, like another really, really solid performance from him. I feel like people are just no longer stressed. That's probably the best way I can describe it.
Well, I think that's maybe personal to the individual, because I would suppose that my emotion has gone from stress to anxiety. It's reduced. It's reduced from stress to anxiety, but I would imagine a big part of that, like I said earlier, growing up watching the football that I watched, it was like Peter Schmeichel was a revelation because he threw it the furthest, not because he played the ball out with his feet. Like he was a revelation because he threw it the most accurate over such a long distance. Fabian Barthez came in and he used to be like the projection of the way he used to angle the ball, and he was incredibly accurate. And then Peter Cech, who found Didier Drogba on a sixpence for like the best part of 10 years, you know, and it's something that he was very underrated at. So I get nervous if Alisson or Edison was doing it, or one of these people that are meant to be really good on the ball. It makes me absolutely nervous as hell. And I think that he's been taking a lot less risks recently. And I think that he's allowed himself to play the longer ball. He's not been as stubborn. Maybe it was a Maresca thing, and maybe Maresca's relaxed himself around it as well. And I think that's done Sanchez the world of good. I was one of Sanchez's biggest critics. I have to be completely honest about that. I was one of his biggest critics. I did say that I think there was a good goalkeeper in there, but I didn't think we'd be able to win the league with Sanchez. I'm still not convinced, but I think that he's closer to where we need him to be than he was even 3 or 4 months ago. And I think a big part of that is been because of the likes of Chalobah and then Fofana coming back in, having consistency with James, Gusto and Cucurella at the fullback positions, and then having consistency with Caicedo and Fernandez in the middle in front of him. And I think that it's that the team has helped Sanchez a lot by playing a lot better and getting the results. So I was his harshest critic, but he is definitely, like, he made some terrific saves yesterday. There's never been a question about his shot stopping. It's his decision making, but he's improved. And he comes and claims crosses as well. I love the fact that he comes out. He's a big man, and he comes out and he bulldozes through people to get the ball, and I love that.
He's not a stiff goalkeeper either. He's a very, like, I don't know how to describe it, but, you know, he can, like, move in ways.
Bruce Grobbelaar.
Do you know what I mean, though? Like,
yeah.
I look at some goalkeepers, they just look a bit stiff and they're so tall, but they can't necessarily use that to their advantage. And I feel like, I mean, he just knows how to use his body, like, fair play to the man. But going back to your point, actually, Warren, with the passing out from the back, I have to say, this is another compliment. He was given the opportunity to go long or pass from the back under Pochettino, and he was never able to do it properly. So maybe there's just a better structure in there with Maresca. Well, there is a better structure under Maresca, no doubt about that, especially in terms of passing the ball out. But, I mean, he's still got the license to make the wrong decision. I said, because when you have to pass out from the back, everyone knows it's the manager. Okay, you must do this or you will be dropped. Maresca said that publicly. But if you're saying, right, you can go long, but I want you to go short, and you don't do it, then there's half a chance of you messing it up even more. I mean, what do you think, Scott?
Yeah, I agree with what Warren said in terms of most of what his improvement has come from is just he's limiting the risks he needs to take. Like, he's not overthinking on the ball. He's not taking too many touches. He's very direct in terms of what he needs to do. He knows what he wants to do and is executing it. Whereas before we've seen him take too many touches, panic, and just kick the ball to anywhere, and then either give away a throw in our own half or kick it to Rice or kick it to Baleba or whoever. He's actually taking the time to think about what he's doing. And like, there's an element, like I said, of before the ball comes to him, he knows where he's playing it.
He's got 3 options in his head now.
Yeah. And so he's also, I think the one thing he has worked on is, well, there's 2 things. And one is the cross has been excellent, like, and it's helped in terms of we struggled massively with the set pieces. That's gone up. The other thing is he's improved the long passing in terms of he's not overhitting it. Too many times last season, earlier this season, passing sucked because he was overhitting everything. He would try to play it to a winger, throw in, try to play it to the forward, underhit it, try and play it to like Kukurea. You know those little chip passes he does, try and play it and just overhits it again for a throw in or undercooks it, or puts the player under pressure. And now he's not. And so I think that's part of it. He's always been a good shot stopper. I think we've seen that, and I don't think anyone has really had any issues with that. There's always the other stuff outside of that. But yeah, he's massively, and like, fair play to the lad. I think there's always going to be that element of whether it's anxiety, stress, nervousness, whatever, because he has 2 and a bit years of shit to make up for, like just crap performances.
Yeah.
But performances like yesterday and performances like he's had, in the Club World Cup final and other games this season are going to help with that. Like, if he gets to the end of this season and he's put up the level of performance he put in yesterday consistently, and he's potentially top, or he's joint top at the moment. I had a little look on the Golden Glove. Then maybe we can have a conversation about if he's completely turned it around and if there's no need for that nervousness anymore. But like I said, games like yesterday are a perfect step to go towards that.
So I have a question for everyone, including everyone in the comments. Right now, if you was Maresca and it was January the 1st and you had a blank check, would you replace Sanchez? And if so, who'd you replace him with?
Can I ask a question off the back of this? Are you saying we can sign as many players in January as you want, or are you saying we've got to only
just a goalkeeper. Just in terms of if it was up to you to change the goalkeeper or keep him.
Depends on his performance up until January. That's the thing.
Fair question. But until now, based on this season so far.
The reason I would say no would be because of the question I just asked, in terms of if you're telling me we can make as many signings in January as possible, then I would say yes, because I do think there are still goalkeepers better than him. I would still take Manyan over him, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're telling me we can only make 2 or 3 signings in January, I'd say no, because there are positions, and I think this is also a testament to Sanchez. There are positions that are more crucial to replacing and bettering in this team than Sanchez right now. The centre-back issue is still an issue. Like, the striker issues we'll get to, it's still an issue. You could argue, as much as I actually thought they were good yesterday, there is still a winger issue, potentially. He's not an issue at the moment.
Yeah,
no,
I second that too, because I would focus on more. I think if you base on the position that if I rank them, I feel like the wingers comes first, and then number 9, and then probably centre back right at the end. And
why wingers first?
The easiest with the goalkeeper stuff that Warren said, the easiest answer would be Pedro, isn't it? So, but other position that is crucial as well.
But for me, we've got the depth in our wingers. It's obviously, you could argue the quality and depth might not be up to standards. For me, it's up front. For me, it would be up front is our primary focus, because we've only got one out and out number 9 in Delap, and you're putting all the pressure on him to perform. And you've seen Pedro in the 9 recently, just hasn't been it if you don't have Palmer in the 10. So I think for me, our first focus would be number 9. And then you could argue wingers and centre-backs for me are pretty equal, because it depends on how well our wingers have been doing recently. Like Garnacho, he just doesn't really seem to know recently how to beat his man, whereas Estevao has. But I do think Garnacho is a useful asset to have in a team. obviously you could argue, like the quality in depth in, like, let's say your Gittins and I mean, the right side, I do like it, but you could argue like Gittins and Garnacho, the left side is a bit weaker. But for me, up front, you're putting all the pressure on Delap. You sold Jackson, which for me you should have never done, because now you're left with Pedro and Delap, and you're almost in situations where if Delap's not performing, you're having to chuck Guiu on, who I do like, and I think he has good qualities, but he's still quite raw right now. And you can tell he's not even getting in the squads for fixtures like this, like the Arsenal fixture, which shows that Maresca obviously doesn't rate him as highly as someone like a Pedro up front, or playing a false nine like Neto up front. So I do think it would be number 9 is our first priority. But yeah, back to the goalkeeper front, I think Sanchez has just been, I've been really impressed with how he just made everything so much more simple. Because I thought that last season, it was almost like he enjoyed when the opponent almost was pressuring him. He enjoyed playing that risky pass to Caicedo, almost as if it was like, I don't know why he did that, to break the press. Because when it works, it's great. But when it doesn't, we concede. So I think also the shot stopping, we've known it's been good. But the cross claiming, I think he's just worked on that. I bet he's probably just working very hard with his goalkeeper coaches just to work on that attribute of the game. And also the fact that every time, I saw yesterday as well, when Arsenal had the corner, we put a lot of our players near the halfway line. So it gives us more sort of space for Sanchez to claim the ball. It happened at Spurs away. So I think that's a good tactic as well for him to claim the ball better. But yeah, just in terms of simplifying it, it's just been so much better. And I don't know if that's Maresca who told him to do that, or if that's an active decision that he took.
Do you not think that it's difficult to? I think it's interesting, the point about the number 9 role, because obviously Pedro, we know he can play there, but it's not what he was brought in to do, and it is what Delap was brought in to do. And then obviously the emergence of Estevao. I mean, like we could be here for 24 hours talking about the talent of that boy, but Delap was bought as part of a front line, and the apparently most important and integral member of that team hasn't been fit all season, has played a couple of games. So when Cole Palmer comes back, let's see how it gels after that. I take your point on board. So far, the number 9 role has been an issue, because the number 9, whether it's Guiu or Pedro or Neto as a false 9, haven't got the goals. They've come from other areas. We've been very creative in other areas, but the 9 at the moment is an issue. I want to see it once Cole Palmer's been back in the game for 5-6 games. Yeah. And he's linking with Pedro Neto and Joao Pedro and Estevao and your Garnachos and your Gittins, who maybe haven't performed as highly as.
I totally agree with your point, but I feel like we shouldn't be in that situation, because if we kept Jackson, then we would have been able to play Pedro in the 10, and then you played Delap up front, and then if Delap's not performing, you play Jackson. And when Joao Pedro was signed, he was meant to be signed as the versatile forward. Yeah, where every time he plays in the 10, he's been not that good. And then when he's played in the 9 without Palmer, he's not been good as well. Obviously, the first start of this part of the season, I thought he was really good. He was often isolated, and
that was
really
with Palmer, though, right? So
yeah,
that was
exactly.
Palmer.
Yeah, but there was a couple games where Palmer wasn't there, and I thought his physicality was really good. If he gets in the right positions, I think he's a great finisher. But it's just frustrating that we're, again, like, this is probably the 3rd or 4th season in a row where we're saying that we're short up front, or someone that we've brought in, like Pedro, who's seen as the versatile player. For me, I don't want it to be another Nkunku situation where he can't play up front and he can't play in the 10. And I like the versatile players, like when we sign them, because it shows that we can play in a lot of positions. But it gets to a point where you're left with only Delap up front, and you've got no other option apart from Guiu, who in my opinion is slightly raw at this moment in time. So for me, that's just a bad decision from the board to get rid of a Jackson. And then obviously we're bringing a Mega next season, but he's again going to be raw. So yeah, we'll see when Palmer comes back.
Well, Jackson will move out because Bayern ain't going to pay that money.
Jackson's not got a future at this football club. He's gonna
go elsewhere. He's gonna go elsewhere.
I disagree with the whole point.
I don't understand that decision, though. I don't understand that decision.
I disagree.
Well, the relationship's gone. That's why he's not coming.
No,
the relationship's
for sure,
broken.
I don't understand why Maresca says at the end of last season that I want my striker next season to be exactly like Jackson, and then you get rid of him. that doesn't really make sense. Maresca says in his press conference, I want a second striker to be exactly like Jackson, a clone of Jackson, and then you get rid of him. Yeah, and you get rid of him. You get rid of him. For me,
I think Jackson wanted to go. Jackson didn't want the competition from Delap. Perhaps, obviously, things have happened behind the scenes, but Jackson's like you said, Jackson's gone. Jackson doesn't have a future at the club. Totally agree.
But I'm sure we could have we could have told him you're gonna be competing with Delap up front. I'm sure that when we bought in Delap and Pedro, Jackson probably thought, oh, I probably don't have a great future at it. But I'm sure he could have been convinced by the team that he could have stayed. I'm sure that it's also the club that also wanted to not force him out, because when we bought him for like 30 mil. So getting something like a 50 mil would be great business.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't think I don't think we were reluctant. We were reluctant to keep him, for me, in my opinion. And it's a blend of both. Same with Madueke. I don't think he wanted to leave totally, but we kind of indicated that you kind of have to go. Same with Jackson. And I think if you put in more like dedication, we could have kept Jackson, for me.
No, I think it was the right decision to get rid of Jackson in the end, because you could see it in the Club World Cup as well. I like Jackson, by the way. I was a fan of Jackson, and I would have happily had him as a third choice striker. That wouldn't have bothered me. I think it would have been an upgrade on Mark Guiu, like no doubt about that. But he couldn't hack it in the Club World Cup when he had moments and he couldn't capitalize on those moments. He chose to be selfish. He was reckless, and he looked like the pressure was just mounting up on him. And by the way, like it should. You need to compete and perform consistently to start every week, which is why I'm pretty happy with Delap and Joao Pedro if we're going to have that conversation, because at least I feel like there is a good enough difference in terms of the way they play that if I'm not liking what I'm getting from Joao Pedro, I can get something a bit different from Delap and vice versa. And then, up top we can work with our best forwards, which I think would be Palmer, Estevao on the right, probably Neto on the left, because I would have to have Neto in the squad. I think he's part of the spine of the team now. And then you either have Joao Pedro or Delap. It'd probably be Joao Pedro, and obviously Delap is a great impact sub as well. So
I fully disagree, because I feel like with the Jackson stuff, I kind of get it from this perspective that we should have kept him, but I felt that it goes back to the board again, that when they sell Jackson, what were they actually thinking? So when Maresca said that I want to replace a like for like Jackson, so basically the lab is Jackson's 2.0. Like he's a winder. He's a winder.
He's not though. Like they're different players. They're different profiles, and ultimately, like Jackson right now is a much better player than Delap. But people didn't care. Like.
Maresca intended to use Delap like in the same way. I take your point that they are different. They are different players, but I think Maresca would have used them the same. I think he meant I want to use somebody who can play the traditional 9 role, put pressure on.
Yeah,
I agree. I don't think Delap does that either, really, or hasn't shown that.
He hasn't. No, he definitely hasn't shown it. No, he hasn't.
But for me, Alex, your point when you say you would have been happy with Jackson to play third choice striker. I don't really like the idea of third choice striker, second choice striker, first choice striker, because look at the start of the season.
Well, initially, he would have been third choice. We can all agree on that.
But it depends on the type of game, though, because when you play against a low block, we're gonna more likely to see Delap. So that would be a first choice striker. Whereas when you play against a more expansive team, I'd be more likely to see someone like a Jackson.
I'm gonna be so honest. I don't think it does, because the only reason it matters in terms of style of players, because none of the strikers we've signed have shown to be good enough. Like Erling Haaland plays every week. It doesn't matter who they face. It does not matter who they play. He plays every week.
We don't have a striker of that quality.
But that's my point. The only reason it matters in terms of play styles is because you signed 2 strikers. One's not even really a striker, who are not at the level where they can nail down a starting spot week in, week out. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of repeating myself in terms of other streams I've been on, but I'll say it here. We signed what we paid for, in terms of you signed a £30 million striker in his 3rd professional season of football, who didn't have until last season more than 8 goals in a season. You're getting what you paid for. You signed a 9.5-10 who had 5 non-penalty league goals last season and doesn't like to shoot. You're getting what you paid for. We're getting exactly what we paid for in players.
But it's kind of what we've done it's kind of what we've done under Bowie's stewardship, right? Because we paid at the time what seemed like it still is an extortionate amount of money for like Fernandes and Caicedo and Cucurella and various other players that we've signed. And we picked up some bargains along the way, but we spent a lot of money on like a lot of players, and it was like wow. And they didn't necessarily come in and like hit the ground running. And given time, given 18 months, and under Maresca's stewardship, and everything that's happening like that's going really well with the club, I think that those players have improved massively. Now, I'm not saying that I think Delap is going to improve the way that like Caicedo or Cucurella has improved. I don't think he's ever going to be that player. I think you're right, ultimately, but I think he deserves a chance because at the minute he's what we've got. And maybe with a Cole Palmer coming back in, that means that a couple of other players are going to start playing better in and around people like Delap, and hopefully it's going to work. I'm positive. I think if anyone can make it happen, I think Maresca can. He's had a few tactical masterclasses recently. I think Maresca can make it work.
I think when it comes to a striker as well, the other thing is I don't really care if they're two strikers that aren't quite top. If they both give me 15 goals, that adds up to 30. Like. Maresca has said that he wants. No, I mean, if they can't do it, then they can't do it. But if they can, then we've not got a problem. We've got our 30 goals. It's just two players, right? So, I mean, you've got to find the goals from somewhere. And if you're going to get 5 goals from, lots of different players and spread them around, great. If you're going to get one player as a Palmer season, then even better. I mean, it's very fun to watch, no doubt.
Look at the 2 seasons that we won the league under Mourinho when he first come in. Did Drogba get 15 in both? And then you would have had Good Johnson on about 12 in both. Then you would have had Robin on 6, Duff on 6. You would have had Lampard on 12, Yeah, and then people like Anelka who won golden boots and things. But like, under Ancelotti, look at when we scored 103 goals, first team to get break the 100-goal barrier in the Premier League, right? There was goals everywhere. You even forget that people like Malouda scored like 11 Premier League goals or something. It was insane. Yeah. So
I really get for 11 Premier League goals from our wingers now, huh?
What we get, well.
But I think back on the Jackson point, though, I feel like you need to plan for injuries to occur. So, like when you had last season, you had Jackson and Kunku up front. You need to plan for players like Delap who are going to get injured. And when you bring Delap and Pedro, it's all well and good when they're both fully fit. But when Delap gets injured, you're left with Pedro, who's not. Maresca doesn't favour him as a 9 when Palmer's out. He favours him as a 10. So you're left with only Guiu. And for me, that's just another case where if Jackson stayed, he would have probably played the first 15 games of this season just because we had no one there with Delap out. So that's where, for me, it just highlights a lack of squad planning again in that upfront role, because if we kept him or if we brought in someone else, I don't know, like Omega earlier, we wouldn't be having this conversation of we've got a lack of squad depth or we're putting all the pressure on Delap.
I don't think we have got necessarily a lack of squad depth there, because I understand what you're saying, but if you're going to have somebody that's happy with, and this is what Alex was saying, right? But you saying it like about Tosin earlier and 1 or 2 other players, that in terms of their squad roles, if you're going to be 3rd choice striker, this isn't 20 years ago when you played 2 up front. You've got 1 striker. So if 1 striker's playing well and you're behind the person who can't even get in the team, you've got no chance. You've got to find somebody who's happy to do that. And you're not going to have certain players of a certain caliber that are going to sit on the bench for 12 games in a row. Guiu will, and I really like Guiu. He's a fabulous player. So I take your point. But who are you going to put? Who's going to come to Chelsea as 3rd choice striker? Who's going to score 20 goals?
I don't agree with the 3rd choice striker thing though, because everyone's going to get their fair share of games. Like in the Christmas period, there's so many games to be played.
It's not fair share, is it? So you got to say that to Mark Guiu. I mean, there is such thing as a 3rd choice striker.
Yeah, but something that they should have known that Pedro was going to be playing in the 10 and that you're only left with Delap. And then if Delap gets injured or if he has a bad game, Jackson would have played. If Jackson stayed this season, he would have been so far the
top strikers are not going to stay in case someone gets injured.
But the point is we're going to have about like 50, 60 games this season, which means that Delap's going to get a rest. Jackson would have played. And if Delap underperforms, Jackson would have played.
We're going to move on from this one, guys. We're going to move on just because we've been going on this one for a little bit. Let's talk about.
I know you tried to get in there a couple of times. I apologise. I sort of spoke a bit too much. Sorry, mate.
Let's talk about the front line then. From what we saw against Arsenal, let's actually look at the game itself. Because if we are looking at the front line, we had Estevao, we had Joao Pedro, Fernandez was up there quite a bit, and then obviously Pedro Neto as well. The two players that got taken off, we had Estevao and Joao Pedro. Let's start with Estevao because there was a viral clip on our socials, which some people may have seen, of a guy basically saying, "What was that from Estevao?" I think he was rage baiting, to be fair, but there was a big debate on Twitter about it. Because it's like, this is the reason that Maresca hasn't been playing Estevao, because he wants to keep him away from this sort of toxicity that the fan base can create if a player that they believe should be performing to a certain level every week doesn't. And I think, to be honest, Maresca's right to not play Estevao every day. It's absolutely spot on. I don't think it's anything to do with footballing ability. I don't even think it's tactical. I think it's just taking care of a young man. And that's not just mentally, that's also physically. He's still developing. He's 18. But I struggle to see how he was poor, because that's the argument that I heard from one or two yesterday.
I think that was what it was. His decision making was poor. Everything else outside that was decent. Like his ability to drive with the ball, his dribbling and everything was good. It was just that final shot, pass, etc. was poor. Like, you see the shot that goes over. He had another one, I think, as well, in the first half. But yeah, I think that's what it was. It was just his decision making was poor more than anything, which is something we haven't seen from him yet.
He put that one over the bar, didn't he, with his wrong foot? And it's like, he proved he was human for the first time in a Chelsea top. He proved he was actually human.
I reckon he should have siphoned it down.
And he could have controlled it better. He sort of snapped it a bit. And then the second one that I think you was talking about, Scott, he came inside and he had an option of a shot, or he could have made a pass, and the pass was probably the better option, and then he had a poor shot. But he didn't not have a poor game. Like, he didn't.
He had probably his worst performance of the season so far, but I think that's the level he's shown. Like, he had an average game, which was poor by his standards.
But still better than half the rest of the thing.
Only poor because he missed opportunities. I mean, if we're looking at other games as well, like Palace, he was marked out of the game. So it's interesting that people think this is the worst performance, where he's actually putting himself in positions where he had a chance to score and he could create. But yeah, it just comes down to that end product. What did you think, Father, about Estevao and also Joao Pedro as well? We were just speaking about him.
Yeah, I think with Estevao yesterday, I saw him. There's one shot over the bar, and there was one occasion that I would have thought that maybe, I think Calafiori got the better out of him. I just think he had an off day yesterday, and that's why he got subbed off. That not because he was poor. I think he's more thinking of a tactical base sort of maybe trying to switch Pedro Neto to the right and trying to get into the Calafiori side, which apparently it worked, and then they brought in Maresca in ahead of Pedro Neto, and then when Garnacho came in on the right hand on the Timber side. I don't think he didn't do much, in my opinion. I would have thought I would have given credit more to Pedro Neto, because he did bits once Estevao came off. Secondly, Joao Pedro, for me, I thought he was wasteful in the first half. There was one moment that I remember. It was when we get into that final third. He was, again, like Scott said, his decision making. It was very poor yesterday, and he was wasteful to me. In the second half, he didn't really do much, but kind of understand it with the sub that he brought on for Delap, though. And it's unfortunate, because ever since Tottenham game, I would have thought that maybe he could nick a few more goals in there about after that Tottenham game. But
let me ask you this, Father. So the chances where everyone's saying Joao Pedro should have had a shot on goal, do you think that Delap shoots in those moments?
No, 100%.
Sorry?
100%. He 100%. I think he will.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I think we all know that Delap's going to have a crack, but It's just whether he's going to do anything with the opportunity. Also, the way that Joao Pedro is able to sort of maneuver in tight areas, I think, is a little bit better than Delap. But I mean, this is the thing. It's not, you got a totally different profile in there, especially even Garnacho coming on, right? For Estevao Willian, you're getting a little bit more defensively. For me, like, I know you're not a fan of him, Scott, but I think that Garnacho is another example, probably a lower tier to a player like Chalobah or Santos, in terms of the fact that I like having Garnacho in the squad. I haven't got a problem with him. You know, I know what I'm going to get. I don't think it's amazing. I don't think it's terrible. But I think it's a useful player to have. And I think it was an interesting sub, because I wasn't, when we were talking at halftime, we were going, what do we do? Especially because Caicedo got sent off. So everyone's saying, we need to bring on another midfielder. We need another midfielder. And the first change that we made was a winger. So, I mean, what was your take on that? And obviously Garnacho coming on as well.
I thought Garnacho was actually decent, to be fair. Like, he does what he usually does in terms of stretching the play, being an option out wide. Didn't really do anything wrong. Like, he didn't really create much, but like at the same time, he didn't do anything wrong. It was weird. I kind of understand it in a sense of, like, obviously you had Estevao play 80 against Barcelona, who played 45. I don't know if he's going to get any minutes against what's it called, against
Leeds.
Thank you. I also think part of it as well is kind of agree with Faster. I think there was an element of putting Neto down the right-hand side, as there seemed to be a bit more space for him to run into against what we thought was Calafiori, ended up being Miles Lewis-Skelly. Yeah, like I thought he was decent. Like I said this earlier, I don't think any of our wingers really were bad. Like, I thought Neto was good. I think the biggest thing on all of our wingers was there was a little bit of a lack of end product, but like, you could say that about a lot of the team. But in terms of the energy they gave, the giving the fullbacks of Arsenal problems, getting in behind, stretching the pitch, I thought they did that really well. Just quickly on Joao Pedro, by the way, he's starting to piss me off. Like, just the lack of shooting's annoying me. Like I said earlier, I understand he didn't do that last season, but bro, this ain't Brighton. Like, respectfully, this is Chelsea. Like, I expect you to actually shoot and like take your chances. With a proper number 9 yesterday, we win it, even with 10 men. Because like Delap in his position and Osimhen in his position,
like,
Haaland in his position, any striker worth their salt, any half decent striker shoots and probably scores. Expect like the Hincapie one, especially. I think there was even a second one as well. Like, I'm tired of that, man.
Who would you sign? Because I had this conversation with somebody the other day, and I'd be interested in your opinion.
I think Omega. I don't actually think he does for Maresca. For me, Omega could join tomorrow and I would start him.
Right.
And that's Omega, because I'm just tired of watching our two strikers. And I'll give Delap a little bit of leeway. There's a lack of game time. Pedro's annoying me, because the link-up play is cool. I don't care, because no one cared when it was Jackson. It was he just misses chances. We're not scoring enough. He's frustrating to watch. That's cool. I'm looking at a guy who links up well, doesn't take his chances, is frustrating to watch. I've got Jackson 2.0, he's just Brazilian. That probably looks better. Like, respectfully, and I had a look. Numbers-wise, he's about the same as where he was last season for Brighton. Like, literally, I think he's got one more assist at this stage of the season than he did last season.
Jackson's a bit more link-up play, you could argue, at least.
Potentially, but I think Joao Pedro's is as well. But I don't care, because none of us cared last season, because we just wanted a striker. We wanted someone who was going to score. He isn't giving me that. He's playing the 9. Because it didn't matter when it was Jackson. It doesn't matter to me now when it's Joao Pedro. As much as I do like some of it, ultimately, if it doesn't lead to anything, it's just cool.
But you said it earlier, right? It's been years. It was the same under Tuchel. It's the same under Lampard. It was the same under Potter. That's why we signed Lukaku. That's why we signed this player.
Yep.
We signed that. To be honest with you, the last striker that we had that we could rely on, apart from Tammy Abraham to a point, was probably Olivier Giroud.
I love Giroud. He was a great player.
Oh, phenomenal player.
No, I met him once in Malmo in Sweden.
Was you stunned by how handsome he was? Because he is ridiculous.
He's a very good-looking bloke, and he had a very nice watch on as well. But this was just after we lost 6-0 against Man City.
Oh wow!
And that was the next game, Malmo it was the Europa League at that time. And me and my dad were on the left with him, and it was like, yeah, you're right, Olivier. And I got a picture with him, and my dad sort of awkwardly said to him, not a great result the other day. And Giroud was like, yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, so he was a good player. I like Tammy. I have to admit, I always thought that Tammy was good, mate. You know, Tammy for me, coming from Higuain and Morata, and I hated both of them. You know, Tammy gave me a player that I knew I could get 15 goals a season off of. Ran his socks off. And people say that running's not that important, but it is important when you've seen people who don't run at all. And I think that you'd certainly appreciate it when you see players giving 110%. And I think to be fair to Joao Pedro, he does put a shift in. It's just the end product. I guess that's what you're getting at, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Care about right now because that's what we were missing.
Yeah. What about Delap then? What about when he came?
I'm looking. Say again.
So what about Delap then? Because you weren't happy with Joao Pedro. Delap comes on. Like, what kind of an
I
impact
wasn't happy with Delap. I wasn't happy with him as well, but for a different reason. I don't know what the cause of this was. I didn't like the fact he wasn't pressing. I don't know if that was a him thing or if it was like instruction and like game state, because we were down to 10 men. I think we were up 1-0 when he came on. I want to say, or it might have been 1-1. I don't know whether that was instruction or just him. If it was him, that annoyed me.
Cool. No, it wasn't him, mate. It would have been instruction. I saw Maresca repeatedly tell him to come back.
But it's a difficult.
Cool. Then I'll allow for that. But like, it's kind of the thing with Delap is it's kind of, I've spoken on this channel. The link up play isn't there in the same way it was with Jackson and Pedro. His hold up play is okay. It's like it's decent, but it's not great. He is your traditional number 9. So if you're not going to get him the ball and you're not going to get him the ball in areas where he is going to be effective, the game's going to bypass him. Let's be honest. Like, the game is pretty much going to bypass him, and it did after he came on. Like I said, I'm still giving him a little bit of leeway because there is the lack of minutes, but like, sooner or later, I need to see something. You were pretty garbage against Barcelona after you came on. Got the goal, which was nice. Hopefully that's a confidence booster. The starts you've had, you've been pretty anonymous. I just need to see more because, again, ultimately, this comes back to the same conversation. You were meant to be better than the guy you replaced. I understand he's young and there is a level of we have to wait and see, but there also needs to be a baseline. If your baseline is worse than the guy you just replaced, which at the moment it is, why did we sign you to replace the guy we had? You spent money you didn't need to spend.
But I don't think he was the like replacement. That's the whole point.
He was in terms of positionally speaking.
You said that Maresca literally said it himself.
But positionally speaking, he's the guy to replace Jackson. Positionally speaking,
for me,
I think it's a very difficult debate because he's not going to have the same opportunity that Jackson had. So to compare the two is very difficult because Jackson, we saw as soon as he had competition, he crumbled. And I think that Delap has actually thrived in a lot of moments where he's come off the bench. Club World Cup being a great example. I don't know if that was the final. I think it was the final. I thought it was brilliant when he come on. So yeah, I think that's something you've got to factor in. But I think he can get 15 goals. I think he can.
I think he's capable of it. I think that he's yet to find his level of maturity yet and his level of how to apply himself properly to the game. Because sometimes he comes on, and you saw it against Wolves, you saw it in the Club World Cup, and he comes in and he barges people over. And we love a bit of that. We love a bit of like, do you know what I mean? It gets the crowd up. But he needs to know how to like control that. And obviously like Wolves was a good example. And there's been other incidents as well where he's kind of, his like aggression and his passion is like misplaced. And I feel like he's a man that feels like he's under pressure. And I think he's playing like he's under pressure. And like Scott said there, hopefully his goal's going to, help him. And especially next time he plays in a team with 11 players, I think that will help him, especially with Cole Palmer. But I think that he's almost trying too hard. He's almost trying to.
But why should he be under pressure, though, if he's got no other strike?
Because he plays for Chelsea and we want to win the Premier League and we want to win Champions Leagues. That's what we're used to doing. That's what this club's about. That's why we've spent £4 billion. Like, because we want to be the best. There's pressure.
And the other part of that is ultimately, at the end of the day, you see with the club at the moment, you have 2 years to perform. If you don't, you're out. So if he has a crap first year, which he is having, let's be honest, you have a year. That as well, but I think its next World Cup will be, or the next Euros will be the one he needs to focus on. But it's like, if you have a crap first year, in effect, with what we've seen so far with Noni, who else we've had like that, there's probably been others that I'm escaping off the top of my head. If you don't perform in 2 years, you're gone. So he has a year to prove he's of the level he needs to be to, like Warren said, help us get top 4, win titles, win cups, etc. So if he doesn't perform this season, he has a 1 year pretty much based on the track record of this club.
But
that's what I mean. I didn't mean immediately with the winning Premier Leagues, but that is our aim. That is what we want. That is what we want to happen very much sooner rather than later. That's what I meant. So yeah, I agree. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of an excuse though in terms of when we move players on, because you say, Scott, that like when players don't perform in 2 years, they get moved on. But someone like a Madueke, last season, I mean, every season he was at the club, for me, he progressed. Maybe not to the levels that we wanted him to be, like get to, but for me, he progressed each season. And I think the club will often say that this player hasn't progressed to the levels that we think. That's why we sell him. But I don't fully agree with that, like sort of, because we give Jackson a new contract at the start of last season because he's performing really well. Him and Palmer had like the most goals and assists in the league at that point. And then to sack him off, for me, it's another situation where it's just profit. Like Madueke, we got good profit from him. That's why we signed it,
and we signed Estevao.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
we signed him the year before, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, and that's where for me, in terms of the Delap thing, I don't think he was a direct swap for Jackson. I think Omega will be the swap for Jackson in terms of profile. And for me, Delap is that like alternative profile that you have, that sort of box presence, sort of someone who's more physical, because often we saw Jackson just in the box. He's just not that good, like physically, presence wise, he's just not that good. He will link your play. And that's why for me, I see Omega more as a person who will do that, and Delap as your alternative box sort of presence.
Just on that very quickly on the Omega point, that's actually a kind of linked to what me and Warren was said in terms of if Delap hasn't nailed down a starting spot by the time January comes and Omega comes in and hits immediately, then he's in an even bigger hole than he was previously, because we just talked about Madueke. Part of it as well is you signed Estevao. So if you've got a guy ahead of him who's performing and you're not, you become expendable after a while. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen.
And part of that as well is because because he's happy to be that third choice player and Delap wouldn't be. Guru's happy to bide his time, whereas Delap wouldn't be. That's why Delap is under pressure to produce now, because Delap's at a crucial time in his career where he needs to be playing games.
I would say the opposite in a way, that I think Guru will just get moved on, and then Delap is the third choice unless he gets sold. But he has no power. He doesn't control his contract. I mean, let's say that he tried to force it, like he's no power whatsoever. If Chelsea don't get the money that they want, then they will just keep him on the books, and he's got that long contract, and his contract isn't silly. It's 100K, I think. Like, there's no problem for Chelsea, and that's where I think that the long contracts are brilliant. Yeah, I like
Delap. I'd like to have that on record. I like Delap. I think there's a player in there. I don't.
Yeah, for sure. But I don't. With the third choice striker thing, though, don't you think that's based on how well they're playing? Like, let's say Delap's not. Let's say right now Delap's our first choice striker because Pedro, we're not counting him as a striker. If he's not performing and Maresca chooses Guiu to start, doesn't that make Guiu our first choice striker? For me, when you have a player, like Scott was saying before, when you have strikers who just aren't of the quality of, let's say, a Haaland, you won't have a first choice striker. And that's where, for me, obviously in the Club World Cup, Jackson, he did crumble like when there were other players fighting for that position. But if we went into this season, I think that competition would have been really healthy, because last season, Jackson, when he wasn't performing well, we didn't have any option to replace him. We had Nkunku, who just offered nothing up front. So that's where, for me, it's good to have competition. And I think that's where Jackson would have thrived, from having that competition during the season. Could we just have so many games? Look at the amount of games we have. And are we expecting Delap to play in every single one of those games? I don't think we are. Guiu's going to get used. Pedro's going to get used. And that's where I think it's good to have a big squad.
But Jackson didn't want that. Jackson was on.
Let Father have a word.
The thing is, with that Delap stuff, I kind of get his move to Chelsea in some way, but I think it was more to the fact not only that we want to replace Jackson, but I think he wants that the US World Cup though, this year.
There's no chance.
That's the thing. Again, it's all up to him to perform week in, week out on a consistent basis and lift up to that price expectation that we started in the beginning. Unfortunately, he hasn't. He might be the next Harry Kane in the next couple of years, but as of right now, it's just that no. We're gonna be having the same conversation next season, and then the season with the Euros coming up the next summer. It's eventually it's gonna be never-ending conversation until we find the right profile number 9.
But you say, Warren, that Jackson wouldn't have wanted to be a squad option. He's a squad option at Bayern. He doesn't start over Kane, and he wouldn't. And if he was at Chelsea, he would have played more than he was at Bayern. So I don't really get what his.
He's got an easy life out there. He's playing for a team that's going to win the Bundesliga and probably get to minimum quarter semi-finals of the Champions League. And I just don't think he wanted to be at Chelsea. I don't think he wanted to be part of it.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much it. I also think that Bayern's a pretty big club as well. Like you're not going to sniff at, but like that's the same bracket really as your Barcelona's. You know,
but he gets a bigger role at Chelsea. He gets a bigger
not this season. Not this season. I mean,
he would have played this season because Delap was out. He would have played.
He wouldn't play.
But so he would have played over Pedro when Pedro was performing bad.
I disagree.
Hard to say. I mean, they're all.
So in the game, wait, Father. In the game where we played Fulham and Delap went off injured, you think George would have played over Jackson, Tyreek George?
Eventually, we'll end up that way anyway.
Maresca might have wanted Jackson to play in that situation, but Jackson wouldn't have wanted to, so he would have played George because George wanted to play.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if that is the case, then yes, I think you're right. But I think, Thomas, you're probably right in the sense that Jackson's obviously better than George. I agree with that.
Yeah. But the thing is with Jackson is that I think it fell out with Maresca. I think right after the Newcastle game, that's why his trajectory went on downwards after that. I think the Flamengo red card is just it sums it all up really.
Can we talk about the fact that we only made 2 subs in this game? I mean, I was chatting with people and we were saying like, when is the next sub coming on? Because the only subs that Maresca made was Garnacho for Estevao and then Delap for Joao Pedro. And so after the 55th minute,
why change what's working? Why change what's working?
Yeah, I agree. And the only other viable option you would say is Santos for like Reece James was doing so well in there, so you keep him. That's for me, that's the only other option you would have brought on.
I agree. Like you look at other options, we had Tosin, you're never bringing on. Baddy Shill, you shouldn't be bringing on. Josh, you shouldn't bring it on. Jorgensen. Then you got Palmer. It wasn't the right time because of the way. Like if we weren't down to 11, we're down to 10. Palmer probably comes on, so you understand that. Gittins wasn't going to come on because neither him or Garnacho are comfortable playing on the left, and I think the one of the two that is more comfortable playing on the left. Maresca doesn't play on the right. Excuse me, and Garnacho, he plays Gittins there. Neto was playing well; he didn't need to come off. And similarly, the midfield was working. You didn't need to bring off one of the midfielders. So, like the only person you could have maybe brought on was Palmer, and it just didn't make sense because who are you taking off?
I mean, I was thinking that we needed a midfielder, and that's what I was thinking because I thought, well, you've lost Caicedo, and respect to James, obviously, for what he was doing, but you still felt like there was spaces in there that needed to be filled, and like if you've got 10 men, instinctively you're thinking, right, we need to get a little bit more narrow as opposed to leaving more space.
Well, so this was the choice, wasn't it? The choice was play a low block, play on a counter attack with Neto, and there's still a lot of creative talent out there, right? That was the first option. The second option, and I'm not sure who it was that mentioned earlier on, like leaving 3 up from a corner and just keeping things the same and trying to put pressure on Arsenal and doing things that Arsenal didn't expect us to do. And I think that Maresca took a risk and decided that he had 10 absolutely fantastic players full of confidence out on the pitch and said, you know what, let's actually still take it to them, because Arsenal are set up like they did against Liverpool, not to lose against the bigger teams. And I think that we took it to them, and I think that we shocked Arsenal, and I think that we showed Arsenal, my God, if we had 11 players, we would have beaten you. I think we made a statement yesterday by saying, no, do you know what? We're not going to play like a little club. We're Chelsea. We want to win Premier Leagues. We are one of the most successful teams. We are probably the most successful team this millennium, apart from probably Man City. We want to be up there with the best, and the best teams would have attacked Arsenal. So that's what we done. And I think it was a statement.
Again, with the Warren said in terms of the options, that I would have thought that maybe, again, if he'd gone for that defensive route, I would take on Santos and sub off Joao Pedro in that sense, and put Pedro Neto as a false 9. Other than that, the Cole Palmer stuff, I would kept him, in my opinion, because I feel like if we brought him on, regardless if it's a 10-man or 11-man, we'd still rush him way too early, because I feel like there's more bigger games that I still think that we have to worry about, likes of Leeds away, Bournemouth away, Newcastle away, and then before we get into that Man City period. So I kind of understand with the 2 subs that he made, but then again, that it's a toss up really. What he wanted us to do in that second half.
Yeah, I was surprised Hato wasn't on the bench as well, because if Cucurella gets injured or if he gets a red, you don't have any other left back options. I was surprised Hato wasn't on the bench. That was just one thing I noticed on the bench.
That's true. I mean, what do we think about this comment from Arkil? He says that game was managed the best of the circumstances. Maybe the change of Estevao was too soon. Maybe part of the reason is, and maybe this is just me getting my hopes up for Wednesday because I'm taking the trip. Maybe he's going to feature against Leeds. Maybe that's one of the reasons. I
believe he'll start. I think he'll start and play 65 minutes. I think Maresca will shock us and play him, and then I think he'll rest him, and I don't think he'll play League Cup games and things like that. I think that's when he'll rest him, and I think he'll surprise. I think that's part of the reason he took him off.
It's difficult to say, really. But
yeah, it's hard to say who's higher in the pecking order between Neto and Estevao. Obviously, for the bigger games, I think Neto for his work rate, but then Estevao for me gives you that more quality 1v1. So
I would say that Neto is, as it stands, a more important player to the team as a spine. I mean, that's not even a disrespectful thing to say. You just know that you can count on him. I know that Estevao can do amazing things, but I also know that he's 18 and he's in a new league and he's not been a part of this squad or a part of this league for a long time. It's just you can't put all your weight on an 18-year-old. You just can't do it. And the thing is, like I said it outside Burnley, I don't know if I was saying it to you, Warren, or maybe it was yourself, Father. If there's 10 games and Estevao plays 5 or 6 of those games or features in those games, we are going to see him fresh, rested, hopefully feeling pretty confident, like he hasn't got that much pressure. Whereas if you do what you did with Palmer, and by the way, fair enough, he's a great player, then you're going to get a player that's injured. You're going to get a player that can't compete to his best level all the time because his body doesn't allow him to. That might not even be a mentality thing. It should just purely be physical. So I have no issue with Estevao. I think in an ideal world, we see Neto and Estevao playing together with Neto on the left. And if Neto's able to sort of do well in terms of going on that side, which I really hope he can, because I think he is better on the right, Neto. Then I think that's the long-term solution. That has to be the solution.
Estevao's going to transition, though, right? I mean, there's it's pretty much universally accepted by everybody in the game that Estevao is going to be a number 10. He's going to play behind.
Well, if he is going to be a 10, then that makes our life even easier because you can still get Neto in there and just rotate him with Palmer.
I think Maresca said it, Ancelotti said it as well for Brazil, that's where he sees him ending up. I mean, we could all be wrong. Who knows? He could end up.
I think go on, Scott, go on.
Also, I don't think there's any benefit to us of having him as a 10 going forward because that means one of him or Palmer has to be dropped, has to be rested.
Palmer
I don't want them playing
yeah.
together.
I think Palmer loves playing on the right. To be honest with you, I quite
Yeah,
like
but
him.
he doesn't play on the right. He's seen as Maresca as a 10. So unless you're changing the manager or changing the system, which I don't think either is happening.
To be fair, I think
Both of them, if they're both 10s going forward, they can't play in the same team unless you're going to completely change the system up and start having one of Gusto or James overlapping, which I can seriously doubt that he does that.
But that's the thing. We're in these bigger games, Barca and Arsenal. You saw Estevao starting on the right, but sort of drifted into the 10 with Gusto overlapping. And I do think Maresca does like that tactic, and I think he would like to use that with Palmer as well. So, like you said, Scott, you have to sacrifice one of them. But I do think Estevao's the best as a touchline winger. But you have seen him like against Barca and Arsenal where he sort of drifts in, allowing Gusto to overlap, which I do think suits him as well. But I do think he gets into better positions when he's taking on his fullback. But yeah, you can't have. It's hard to have Palmer and Estevao playing that like right wing /10 spot. So you have to sacrifice one of them for me. But you can fit both of them in the same team. But then you would have to have a bit more defensive cover if you were playing Palmer in the 10 and Estevao on the right. I think that works, but you have to have someone on the left, like a Neto, let's say, Alex, who's defensively is going to put in a shift.
100%. I mean, if you were asking me last season, would I accept Palmer playing in the 10 if I knew I could get him on the right? And if we're saying Estevao's in the 10 as well, then I would have said 100% get Palmer in there at all costs. I loved him on the right. But I saw him play, I think it was against Flamengo he played on the right. I was in America for that game and he was really poor. And it sort of opened my eyes. I know one game doesn't like paint a whole picture, but it does give you an idea in terms of like where the system is a little bit different to Poch, because you're not having overlapping fullbacks all the time. You don't have the freedom. One of the things I loved about Pochettino's style in terms of when we had the ball is that players just had the freedom to go out and express themselves. And I'm not saying that Maresca doesn't give players freedom. Of course, you can express yourself in your own way. But I don't think you have anywhere near as much freedom as you would have had under Pochettino. For example, touchline wingers, like we wouldn't have had that conversation 2 years ago. We wouldn't have spoken about that. And I don't have a problem with touchline wingers. I don't think that Cole Palmer is a touchline winger. So, I mean, just based on that alone makes me think, okay, fine. Well, if I'm going to get more out of Estevao in that position or even Neto, just for defensive balance on the right, then fine, you can get Palmer in the 10. On top of that, we're a better team. And now I don't feel as reliant on Palmer to score all the goals. So I'm going, even if he is in the 10, I'm probably losing. Well, I am losing goals that we had when he was on the right, just based on the first season. Never easy to match that. But I feel like I can get 10 GA from an Estevao, and I could probably get 10 GA from a Neto as well. These goals will spread out. And I'm getting goals from the midfield as well. So I'm not overly reliant on one player anymore. And that gives me a lot of confidence. Right. Let's just talk about one last thing before we round out, and then we can do a couple of questions. We haven't actually really spoken about Arsenal in terms of like how they play. I mean, we've spoken about ourselves a lot, but do we think that Arsenal deserved a draw? Do you think that they played well enough to get a draw?
They were crap.
They didn't do enough to. I think that on balance, Chelsea done more that deserved to win the game than Arsenal did. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I always knew it was going to be a bit of a cagey game at times, but I thought things would open up a little bit when we got the red card. They're still quite reserved, aren't they?
Yeah, they're not. But they don't offer much when we are defensively solid. Like we saw, even with the red card, we were in their final third a lot, which is surprising. Or not surprising, because I think Maresca, like, tactically has been so astute in these bigger games. So I think he's shown that he's got a lot of qualities in this tactical sort of masterclass. But I think that, Arsenal, they offered nothing. And if it was 11v11, I think we beat them 2-0, 2-1, maybe even 3-0, just because we were all over them, a bit like Barca. But when we went down to 10 men, I wasn't as like panicky as when we went down to 10 men against United and Brighton, because we just had shown that we just defensively we haven't been able to shut to be able to like, what's the expression again?
Shop.
Shut up, shop. That's it. It's the real
There we go. Bit of a tongue twister.
Exactly. But yeah, no, I thought that even with the red card, we were unbelievable. Just the grit that we showed, the passion that we showed, it's been really good. And yeah, we've shown that we can change from when United, we absolutely just capitulated, we crumbled. And in this game, we just fought. And I really like that from us. But yeah, 11v11, we win comfortably for sure.
Father, what did you think about Arsenal?
I think 10v11 we still won the game. I'll be honest with you, because they were that bad. I don't know why Arsenal fans, some Arsenal fans that I've been spoken to, there's not maybe or two people that have come up to me and said, yeah, we were poor. Because basically they're just they're just doing this copium week in, week out. Every time when they drop points or whatever, they don't look at themselves and say that they don't want to take that accountability. But if anything, I'm not disappointed. The thing is, I'm disappointed towards the media inside of it, because I think the bias there's a lack of credit that was given to us from the media, because it was mostly the media was focusing on Arsenal a lot.
Yeah.
And I haven't come across any media that said that Chelsea play good and they would have won the game with a 10 men as well. But again, it's just that I'm disappointed in the way that they've turned up to the game. That they tried to pull dark arts on us, and it didn't work. And fair play that I think Caicedo, for me, he did get himself sent off because of the occasion, and that I'm not too sure that he was too aggressive at times, but yeah, the occasion get onto Caicedo a lot yesterday, and that happens a lot though. Like, he's a human at the end of the day, but yeah, man, I'm expecting more from Arsenal and their fans, especially.
Warren?
Yeah, I just feel like they was disappointing, Arsenal. I suppose it, like you say, it is difficult to overanalyze Arsenal because we're so focused on Chelsea, as you pointed out. But yeah, I suppose when you've got a side with Declan Rice and Zubimendi and Madueke and the centre forward, and you've got Eze, and you've got players that have been playing really well, and they've played really well against Bayern Munich recently. They've been on a terrific run. We all know how well defensively organised they are and how many different kinds of issues that they can cause with, like, touchline wingers, people getting in behind, pace, and they played really well even without people like Odegaard. They're missing, and obviously they're missing Saliba at the back, and Gabriel was yesterday as well. First time since 2022 that neither one of them's been in the side or some kind of mad something like that. Yeah. So yeah, but they was really disappointing for the wealth of talent that they've got, and I think that they have got a very, very talented side. I think they're favourites for the league. And I said it in the summer as well that I fancied them to win the league. So with all that considered, they were very disappointing. I think Mikel Arteta was too worried about being like Martin O'Neill on the touchline, jumping about all the time, running up and down the touchline. At one point, he was nearly in the back of the East stand. He does it. Honestly, I love passion, and I love managers giving it. And I like, whether it's an opposing manager or not, like Klopp, as much as I disliked him because obviously he was Liverpool manager and he was successful, when he ran on the pitch and all that, when they scored a goal against Everton, there was a part of me that begrudged the fact that our manager weren't doing that. So I loved it when Maresca done it. So I loved that. But Arteta, it just does my head in. He just moans and moans and moans and moans and moans and moans. He's worse than my missus.
I was waiting for that one. There we go.
Yeah, to be fair, all the Arsenal players moan. It's just...
everyone moans. He just does it so excessively, and he does it in like a way that annoys me. I don't know.
They're just a despisable team. Let's just put it that way.
They are. I think
they're not very likable, are they?
That's probably what it is.
I mean, you could argue we're not likable as well with Cucurella and.
I love being hated, though. I absolutely love it. Bring it on.
Yeah, I love him. But if we played against him, I reckon I would not like him.
It's like Ashley Young, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What did you think, Scott?
Yeah, they were crap. They weren't impressive at all. I think their best player was Marino, and I think tells you everything. Yeah, like, and I don't even think I don't even really blame Arteta that much. Like, I'd love to crash it on him, but I think he probably put out the best lineup he could, and they just didn't turn up. Like, Eze was non-existent even after the red card, did nothing. Rice, I've already spoken about, did nothing. Like, absolutely nothing. As an 8, went to a 6 after Zubimendi went off and was even worse. I'll allow the two centre-backs a little bit, especially in Cappier, because he's basically not played the whole season. And that's, I think, the second time they played together. The fullbacks, like, they were both a bit rash. The fullbacks sucked. Like I always said, Timberelli was mid. Calafiori, like,
Skelly was
fantastic. Skelly
Timber
came on.
got booked and it just ruined his whole game plan, didn't it?
Like, the front three as well. Like, Martinelli is a tragically bad footballer. Like, he's just not. He is the worst form of Neto in terms of it's just head down and run. That's it. Like, it's the worst form. And Saka did nothing outside. Like, the cross was nice for the goal. I'm kind of missed it. I was annoyed.
That was his only moment.
But that's the only moment. Like, everything outside of that, he created nothing. Was smashing balls over left, right, and centre. Like, he did nothing as well. So yeah, like, the fact that they've walked out of that game and their central midfielder who's playing as a striker was their best player, I think tells you everything you need to know about where they were.
Yeah. 100%.
No, statistically, I think Marino's their best centre forward. I saw some like mad stat that is XG genuinely for the position that he gets in and the chances that's created for him. He is their best centre forward.
Saka also, by the way, is so overrated by Arsenal fans and just people in general. Every time I see Cucurella come up against him, he generally does nothing apart from that one moment.
Neither did Joao.
Saka is like that's the level of the Premier League at the moment. Like, because I'll be honest, I think he has arguably been one of the best wingers in the league this season. But that's the level. Like, look at he's competing against. It's him and Buemo, who spent the first month being crap. Semenyo, and then you'd probably throw Estevao in the conversation. You could say NDI as well, and then you'd have a genuine. We as Chelsea fans would have a genuine argument that Estevao is in that conversation, and he's basically not played. But that's how bad the level is at the moment.
They even say Trossard as well. That's how bad the level is.
I mean, I was just shocked when we got the goal. To be honest with you, I was the limbs. You were at the game, right, Thomas? You were at the game. Man, the limbs. The atmosphere was a lot better than Barcelona as well. People don't seem to talk about that. From minute one, we were on it, and I was saying to Don when we got the goal. I was saying to Don, I was like, it took me like 10 minutes to recover. I was like, oh my God, Don, I can't believe it. Because you just didn't think it was going to happen. I mean, you had the belief because I saw Lewis at halftime and he was obviously grumpy. You know what Lewis is like, and he's going, fucking Caicedo, this, you know. And then we were chatting with this other bloke who was going, you know, the disagreements about the red. But anyway, you move on. And I went, I thought we could have got a draw out of it, to be fair. I thought a 0-0. That's what you're going to go for, isn't it? You're going to just try not to concede. But the set
But he didn't.
Brilliant. No. We played to get something out of that game.
Yeah.
And Don said a quote after, which I think resonated quite well, and I agree with him, which is that under Potter and Pochettino, we would have been happy with that draw, or even played for a draw. You could have said, but under Maresca, it was a different mentality, a different feeling, and that's when we were speaking after, and a lot of fans were disappointed. And it's like, oh, wow, disappointed that we didn't beat Arsenal, even though we played the majority of the game with 10 men. I mean, it's
a brilliant feeling.
That's back to the Abramovich days. I mean, it's impressive by any respect.
Even to score from a set piece as well, that felt good because all they do is that. And then for us to score from a great set piece again, ole. That was great. There's just
the one corner that we have, and it worked for the second game this season.
Seeing all the Arsenal players just like devastating, just like have some of that, like for once, genuinely. But it would have been good if we held on to that, because every single time before every game that against Arsenal, everyone's like, "Oh, Arsenal's going to smash Chelsea." All of this like nonsense. Every time Chelsea as underdogs are so scary, and that's why the red card was a bit of a shame, but. Yeah, we have to move on.
Does anyone else have anything else you want to quickly touch on? I feel like we spoke about. Go on.
Funnily enough, that goal by Chalobah Timber scored that a few days ago. Exact same spot, basically.
What against?
Was that against Munich?
Against
Yeah.
Bayern, yeah.
Yes. I can't. Yeah, pretty much the same goal, wasn't it? Yeah. Did they run to your corner when he scored, or
To
No,
West
Chalobah
uh,
got it.
oh, he went to the west? Okay, so you didn't see him
Yeah,
father.
yeah,
Not like
it's my corner,
Garnacho giving him a pat on the back.
No, it's my corner. It's my corner still. It's my corner.
I'll never
my corner
forget
still.
that game. I saw Garnacho there, and then I thought no. And I saw someone wearing a bright. What were you wearing? Like a bright
It was
white
like a
hoodie or
white
something.
hoodie.
I was
And
like,
Elton John.
guarantee that's father. And then I went on Sky because I've got it on my phone. I was like, it is. And I tried to record it, father, but for some reason it wouldn't let me do it. And then I FaceTimed you, and I was like, it was actually him.
Father,
That's just the best seat you can have at the bridge, honestly.
No, I'm never gonna give away in that seat ever. No.
Father, next time Garnacho does that, you have to sit on the board as well. with him.
Yeah, father sit next to him.
One day when you rewatch the '97 FA Cup final against Middlesbrough, when Di Matteo scores on the BBC, you'll see a 9-year-old Warren. You'll see a 9-year-old Warren with his dad.
You on there?
Oh, absolutely.
What game was that? What game was that?
That was the '97 FA Cup final. My first trip to Wembley was the '94 FA Cup final, but I don't talk about that.
Fair.
To be fair,
no,
with that seat, by the way, Alex, because you said it's the best seat.
I'm talking about
it's
father
like-
just because he can like interact with the players directly.
That is
Yeah.
true, but in terms of view, like you're very low. Like you don't see, like obviously you want to be.
I don't watch the game when I'm at football anyway. I'm all about the atmosphere, mate.
Yeah,
I don't
for
really
sure.
much, unless there's a noise and it sounds like there's going to be a goal. I don't really watch it. I'll go home and watch it I just record it and go home and watch the 90 minutes the next day.
Yeah, true. People argue that East and West are better because of the view. For me, atmosphere just clears view any day of the week for me.
True.
I
I
mean,
actually
not-
think that these days the atmosphere is better in the shed. I agree with you. I think the atmosphere is better in the shed these days. They've actually got an organised group. We are the shed. Organised flags, organised tifos. They do all of it. So
see, I would like to very quickly. I would like your guys' opinion on that, right? So, obviously, when I first started going to Chelsea, the shed was our legendary stand. That was our iconic stand. That's where everybody sat. That was, Liverpool have got the Kop, you've got the Stretford end, you've got all these different ends where blah, blah, blah. You got the whole end and all the rest of it. The shed end was ours. Now, the most disgusting and betraying thing that Chelsea Football Club has ever done to like things that are very dear to me is put the away fans in the shed end. Now, I know the Matthew Harding stand's a big deal because they knocked down the shed end and we needed a new stand. And then obviously with Matthew Harding and his investment in the club and everything, it was quite rightly named after him because he paid for it when he died and everything and blah, blah, blah. So rightly, that sort of became our end. But it should be the shed. The away fans should be anywhere else. I don't care where they go. I don't care everywhere they go. East, West, Matthew Harding. I don't care.
They should be in the moon.
you should
The
do
shed,
what
wherever
they do at the Molineux.
The shed should be ours.
lower.
The shed should be ours. The shed should belong to the home fans. It shouldn't. The away fans. You wouldn't put away fans in the Stretford end or the Kop when if they remodeled Anfield and they built the Kop, they wouldn't put away fans in there.
Yeah, I agree. Do you know what annoys me as well is that Newcastle away. What the away fans are in the moon, and then
they say because of security, even though the FA rules say that 30% of away tickets have to be.
Do you know where we should put our away fans at the top of West, and they get like the smallest section ever? That's what it should be. Because
I think we should just give them the whole of Twickenham. We shouldn't sell no tickets to anyone.
Or just put them on top of the roof of shed, just like
put them in the hotel.
Yeah. Exactly, because it just for me, I think where the away fans are located impacts a lot. That's why I think Newcastle are very
but that's
good.
the point. That's why the rules are in place. You are supposed to sell. I believe it's 30% of the entire away allocation has to be pitch side to help with the atmosphere and to stop it being an advantage. Newcastle and Sunderland bend the rules by claiming some kind of like security thing, and they're the only two that get away with it.
Yeah.
Hey, well. Listen, we're going to wrap it up there. Big up to everyone that's watched the whole show. It's been a really good one today. If you haven't smashed the like button, please do subscribe to the channel. It makes a big difference. Even if you're watching on X as well, retweet, like it, come over to YouTube and say hello as well. It all helps. Shout out to Warren. It's your first show, mate. Hopefully the first of many. Hope you enjoyed it.
I really did. Thanks for having me on. Great one, guys. And I'll be at Newcastle away for anybody that's at that game. I'm sure
you're going to Leeds, Warren? You're not going to Leeds?
I'm not, unfortunately. Work commitments
difficult.
Dictate with Chris. Do you know what it is? It's a few weeks before Christmas, and I'm breaking up for Christmas on the 15th. So I've got to get everything done because I'm off for a month. So I've got to get everything done in the next couple of weeks. So unfortunately, missing Leeds because it is quite a local one for me. I'd get there in an hour and a half.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
that's a shame.
But I get to Newcastle. I get to Newcastle in 40 minutes, so I don't feel so sorry for me.
Same for Leeds for me. I got a ticket, but I got uni applications on that day, and then Bournemouth.
Do it on the laptop on the train on the way.
I could, to be fair. Bournemouth as well. I'm gonna have to see because I got a ticket for that as well, but we'll see.
You can't turn down Bournemouth, mate. Bournemouth's like gold dust.
True. It's not even far as well.
No, it's not. It's not. It's very local. What about you, Father? You're going to Leeds, aren't you? I'm going to see you down there. How are you getting there?
This is a question that I probably need to find out by tomorrow, isn't it? But,
oh, you haven't got a lift, basically. You're going to have to get the train.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And then you're probably going to get the coach. I'm getting the coach, mate. Gets me back in London at 5 a.m.
Alex, how much
either that, or I'm going to ditch out the Leeds game, probably Bournemouth away and Atalanta away, because we got Atalanta next week as well, so you have to think about that as well. So.
Alex, how much is your train to Bournemouth ticket?
I'm getting a lift. I'm getting a lift up there, but I can't get the lift back. Only up there. So my coach is £33.
Are you staying overnight for Newcastle?
No, I'm getting an overnight coach. So 12 o'clock coach gets back into London about 5. And then I'll get the train home. Hopefully I would have had a kip on the coach, but I'll probably get 1 or 2 hours at home.
We'll discuss that. There's maybe another very viable option for you. We'll discuss that.
I'm flying there.
What's that, Father?
I said flying there.
What did you just say?
You said flying there.
Oh, you want to fly there? Oh, I mean, I'm going to fly to Newcastle. I haven't booked it, but I'm planning on doing that if the prices are okay. Have you guys booked Newcastle?
Yeah, I've booked mine for Newcastle.
Thomas?
If only I don't think I will be able to go. I've got a ticket as well, but is it midweek or is it weekend?
If it's weekend,
Saturday 12.
If it's a Saturday, I'd be able to go. I'll just
Saturday
early doors, mate. Early doors.
Yeah, I'll see if I can get my private jet to go.
There we go. Yeah, there you go.
Well, I'd want to be at Newcastle by 10, so I leave mine about 9:30.
Beautiful. Scott, mate, good to have you on as well, mate. Any plans for the rest of the week? Just working?
Yeah, just working, gym, and I'm going to watch obviously the game on Wednesday. That's about it.
All right. Well, big up to everyone. Really good show tonight. Let us know if you like the panel as well in the comments. And listen, we'll be doing another show after Leeds. That'll be 10 p.m. on Thursday. So go and check that out. Tomorrow I'm doing a podcast with Charlie as well. So if you want to watch that, that will be pre-recorded. And listen, enjoy the rest of your evening, guys. All the best. And we will catch up very